to welcome our next speaker. It's Mikey Bronowski, hopefully that's right, and he's going to be talking about Azure SQL Databases. So you're already sharing your screen, and you have the floor.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm Mikey Bronowski, and I will be talking about automating management tasks using Elastic Jobs in Azure SQL Database, which is the preview resource or feature in Azure at the moment. A few words about me. I have a wonderful wife, Magda, and 2-year-old son, Arthur. I'm database engineer currently in Southampton, UK. As you can see, it's 7:30 and it's 23 degrees in England, which is quite good for that time of the year. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer. And if you have any questions after the session about anything, you can drop me an email on mikeybronowski@gmail.com, or you can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn. And I also have a blog at bronowski.it. So the agenda for today, it's simple. We're going to talk about what are the Elastic Jobs, how the Elastic Jobs can be configured in Portal, Azure Portal, and PowerShell, and why we need them, or why we should create them, the scenarios. So the first bit is, what are the Elastic Jobs? It's basically the SQL agent job just for Azure, and it only supports the Azure SQL databases, Azure SQL databases, Elastic Pools, and shard maps, and it is also kind of a master target server solution for the on-premises databases. So if you have the Management Studio, and I don't have a server now, but when you have the agent, you right-click on the agent, and there is configure master server or add target servers. So that's basically what the Elastic Jobs are, just for the cloud. So you can have one centralized server that has all the jobs definitions, and then you can push the jobs to the target servers. And there are 4 main components of the Elastic Jobs. The Elastic Jobs itself, the agent itself, the job database, which contains all the system procedures and tables. It's like the MSDB on regular SQL Server. The target group or groups for which is configured on the job server, but it has information about the target servers where we deploy the jobs, and the job itself, which is basically a task to run the T-SQL against target groups. And what we need to do to create the jobs, there is a small checklist for that. So the first, we need to create the target and the job database. For the job database, we need to have at least S0. That's the requirement. It cannot be the basic one. The Elastic Job agent will be on that server. We need to have credentials as well, the database scope credentials. And we have corresponding logins on target servers and users on the databases on target server, and job execution on target servers. It depends, of course, what are your security concerns, but as the best practice would be to separate the logins as much as possible, just to give the permissions, the least possible privileges to the logins. And of course, depending on what the job needs to do, the target users need to have specific permissions. So if you want to create tables, or just update some data, it has to have some permission. Then we create the target groups and members. And finally, we create the elastic job to run against the targets. So I'm going to show you how to do this in Portal now. And I've prepared one just in case Azure is not happy with me and takes longer time. So I'm going to create, so when you are looking for elastic jobs in Portal, it's elastic job agent. I have one configured, but it's basically here. So you can create one. But first we need to create all the resource groups and target and job database. So I'm going to start from the beginning. This one is just in case something goes wrong. So elastic jobs, not elastic jobs, resource groups. So I'm just going to create resource group called LA, and it can be anywhere. So I'm going to pick the location closest to mine, which is UK South. And well, it's just the resource group, so it shouldn't take long. You can also download the template if you want to automate that. And now I'm going to create two SQL databases. One for the job database for the agent and one for the target. So it will be in LA, resource group LA. Now going to call it LA job and job DB, let's say this. And we need to create the SQL server. So it will be LA job, so just job, let's say. And we need to provide the login for the server and the password. And of course, they have to match. Perfect. And the location for our server. And because the requirement for the servers is to at least S0, so I'm going to pick the standard one and S0. And I can pick the lowest one value here. So all good here. I'm not using the elastic pool. For networking, I just need to select the public endpoint. I need to connect to that server from my laptop, and also change the firewall to allow Azure services to communicate with each other. For the security, I'm not going to enable the Azure Defender, and this will stay default. It doesn't matter for the demo. And also tags, if you want to use tags for your resources. That will cost around 16 euro per month. It's a zero. In the same time, I'm going to create another database, which will be the target database. So again, LA, and it will be LA target DB. I will create another server, which will be LA target. And again, system admin. Location.
Hey, Mikey, I just want to ask a quick question. Are you showing anything on your screen, or is it just the title page?
Oh, I'm sharing the portal.
Okay, we can't see that. Only thing, or unless you guys can't see it, and I'm just like, the only thing I see is like your name and the title of the sentence.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Stop sharing. I will share this again. So I'm going to share my screen number 1.
Oh, if everybody else can see, then maybe you're good.
I was seeing the portal.
Oh, okay.
Right here? Now I see the portal. Can everybody else see it?
Can you see the portal now?
I can see the portal now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, sweet. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good good question. Otherwise, it would be really interesting if I show the whole presentation and no one sees. So for the target database, I'm just going to use the basic because it's cheapest, and yeah, there is no point to set it for the more powerful resources. And also the public endpoint, same firewall settings and all this stuff. Create, and it will be €5, which is around 3 times less than S0 in my case. So the one server is deployed. I think it's the job server now deployed. The job server, no, it's not here. Is it deployed now? Go to resource. Yes, LA job. So I'm going to create the Elastic job. Create. I need to provide the name, the subscription, and choose the job database. So it will be on my job server, and that's the database. So what it does now, I'm just going to show you quickly. It is LA job. That is the server, and it's empty. No tables, no procedures. So I'm going to create one. Create job. Also have options for downloading the template to automate the whole thing. Now they are being deployed, so we have to wait a while. And yeah, that doesn't take so much time. The last time I presented that, the day before I was testing, and it took twice as long as normal presentation, and I was really worried that I cannot make it for the presentation, but today it was okay. So just a couple more seconds, and we will see, or maybe we can see it now. Or maybe not. It should populate the, yeah. We can see now the procedures, and they are looking really similar to what we have in MSDB, like SP add job or add job step. So they are very, very similar. And the target database is also finished. Perfect. So now refresh. Elastic job agent. Refresh. Yes, that's the one I've just created. However, we don't have many options here in Portal, and we have the note here that the Elastic Jobs is currently in preview, and if we want to learn more how to create the jobs, we have to click there, and that will open the documentation, create an Elastic Job agent using PowerShell, and that will have all the details how to create that in PowerShell. So we cannot create that from the portal. We can also see the credentials, but we cannot create them, as well as jobs. So the target groups, that's all we can do. So the last bit we can do in Portal is actually create the agent, and that's it. So I'm going to switch to the Management Studio, and on my job database, I'm going to create few credentials. So that is a job database. It's actually here, job database. I'm going to create a master key for that. And I'm going to create the database scoped credential for job credential and refresh credential. That one will get the available databases on Azure SQL Server, and that one is responsible for kicking off the job. I'm just going to create that. Although they suggested in the MS Docs to use PowerShell, that's the other way to create this stuff in Azure. And then I'm going to switch to the target server and create the login. So let me switch to the target. I think it was target. And in the master database, I'm going to create a login that matches the credentials from the job. So it will be login in master and user in master to refresh the databases. And then in the target database, I'm going to create the user for the job credential, which is the one to execute the job. And I'm also adding the DDL privilege to be, so the job can actually create some tables. And once that's done, we can, on the job, we can switch to job server here. I've put a note. Before you do that, you have to create the agent in Portal, because otherwise you don't have the procs. So now I'm going to add the target group, which is the SP add target group. And that's just a group, like a container for the servers. And now I'm adding the target group member, which will be LA target. And the membership type would be include, because I want to include that server. And finally, I can confirm from the tables job target group, and the tables should be here as well. Yeah, they are here. We can confirm that the target group has been created and the target group members has this server. And now I'm going to create the job. The job, when we create the job, it has the job name, description. We want to enable that, and the schedule interval type. So very similar to what we have in MSDB. And well, that's all in the job database, like the central place. And as for every job, we want to add the steps. So in my step would have name of the job name, the step name, and my command, the SQL command, will create a table called table. I'm using the job credential, the one that has permission to execute things on the target servers, and I'm going to target that on the target group for demo. And I can also use max parallelism 3. That's created. Now we can see, confirm the job steps and job table. It's all here. And the command to execute the job would be sp start job. So very similar to MSDB. Now I'm going to kick this off. Also on the, I'm not sure if I can make it before it finishes. It should be empty. The table should be empty. Hopefully Azure is not that quick. Oh, so before I created all of this, it was just created. That database was empty, so the table was just created because of the job. So we can see all the executions, the history, and it's just executed like a minute ago. So, well, that's my local time. That's, I don't know, it's Iceland time, but that's from the Azure. And yeah, that's how we create the Elastic jobs in Portal. And now I'm going to switch to the presentation. So why you want to create those jobs? First of all, the agent, the traditional SQL Server Agent, is not available for Azure SQL databases. And if you had some tasks and automated those tasks in on-premises, you might be missing this functionality. So if you want to automate management task or maintenance task, it's very good for that. And you can also use those jobs to collect data from different servers in one place. And I will show you the example of that. So you run the job against target servers, and then all the details you want to collect will be stored in the job database, or wherever you want. So now I'm going to show you how to create the Elastic jobs with PowerShell, which is probably a bit easier way to do this, as all of this can be done with PowerShell, where in Portal we can do half of the work in Portal, and the other half we have to do in T-SQL or PowerShell or any other ways to access Azure. So in order to finish my task, I need two modules. Well, I need actually I need one, the Azure SQL, but I also need something to run queries against Azure database. So something to execute queries. I'm using the DBA tools. If you are not familiar with DBA tools, that's an open source module created by SQL Collaborative, maintained by SQL Collaborative, but it was created by Chris Lemaire. And if you want to learn more about that, they just written a book how to use the DBA tools, which is basically a command prompt SQL Server Management Studio. So I'm using that to execute some queries. So I have imported my modules already. The AZ SQL module, I think it was, this is the latest version. It was released about 19 days ago, so very fresh. And the DBA tools, I don't know which version, but it's very close to the latest one as well. And I'm going to use my credentials. That's the same password I just put for the servers. So I'm just saving this to the object. And if you are not connected to the Azure account, like I am, I am connected to the Azure account here. So I don't have to connect with PowerShell, but if you are not, you can use the connect-az account. And that will prompt for username and password, and you will be connected to the Azure. So the first step would be to create the resource groups, and like in the portal, I just provided the name and location and use the new AZ resource group commandlet. And I don't want to get a prompt. I don't want to get prompt for confirmation. If I don't do this, it will ask me like, "Are you sure you want to create this?" So I don't want to PowerShell asking me those questions. The next thing, I'm going to create the job and target servers, and it will take some time. So that's why I had the backup, and I'm going to create the arguments for the servers will be very similar. So the resource group name would be the one I just created. Location will be the one from the resource group, which is UK South, and the credentials that I just defined. So I'm going to create 3 servers. Just want to make sure. Yeah, I'm just going to create three of them. It will take some time. I've put a note, it takes 15 minutes. I think it was quicker than that when I tested it today. But if not, then we'll have to just wait 15 minutes for the servers to be created. And the next step, it was so when we created the servers via portal, on one screen there was the firewall rules. So it was done before I created the servers. But with PowerShell, I'm going to add the firewall rules here. And I'm using one of the websites to show you how to get your IP address programmatically. So when I open this website, it just returns your IP address, and I can intercept that value with the invoke REST method. And that that will just give my IP address, so I don't have to, because my IP address is changing every time. So I don't have to put it manually. I just intercept that with that command. And my first rule would be firewall rule let me in just for my IP address, which is just for my laptop. And I will apply that rule to all 3 servers. And the next firewall rule would be to allow all Azure IPs. So that rule allows the resources to talk to each other. And once they are built, I'm going to apply the IP, the firewall rule to those servers. And I think when we created the servers via portal, it didn't take 15 minutes, but maybe because I'm running 3 of them, that will be like 5 minutes per server. We'll see. After the firewall rules are done, I'm just going to create the database. So I have to create the job database, and that will take about a minute. And I'm going to use a new Azure SQL Database commandlet, where I need to provide the database name, the server name I just created, the resource group name I've created at the beginning, the addition, which is standard because I'm using the SO, the lowest value possible for standard, and the max size bytes. That's from the slider in the portal. And once the job database is done, I'm going to create the job agent using new Azure SQL Elastic Job Agent. And we are done. And it took 3 minutes, which is interesting. So maybe there was a missing comma here. But the servers are there. We can see them. So if you noticed, I'm using this pattern here. So I'm using the variable equals and the commandlet, which saves the output as an object, so I can refer to those variables. So same here as resource group, new resource group. It has all the values like location or name, so I don't have to manually put all these resource group names or location. I can refer to the object. So whatever I create, I can create different name, and then this will return the proper name. So I have my all servers now created. Excellent. Just apply the firewall rules, both of them to 3 servers. It will take a while, but shouldn't be that long as the creation of the SQL servers. And I'm going to create the job database and the Elastic job. So that will take a while. The warnings about the... So when I last presented, I was on version 2 something, so I didn't have this warning. But Azure is very dynamic and they change a lot. And when we see the portal, I think that's the... No. Oh, I'm just creating the databases, so I will see the SQL servers. I can see the LA Long Beach, LA Pasadena that I just created. And the database for the job database is being created. It will take around 1 minute or so. So we can try to connect to... I'm creating that database on server 0, which is server 0 has name LA Long Beach. Well, I can actually see it here. And let's copy that, go to Management Studio. That's my job database. It's just being... The agent is being created because I run the 2 commands. So the database has been created, and I'm just waiting for the agent to be deployed. Once it's deployed, I will see the system, the objects, the procedures, and tables. And in the next step, after the job database is created, we will be creating the target databases. So there are 5 databases. Just to show you a few scenarios with the target groups, as how flexible are the target groups are. Well, my timings is not perfect because that's supposed to be running for a minute, and it's running over 1 minute, and this one was supposed to be running 15 minutes. So we'll see how it goes. Let's see if the database is showing up here. Yes, so the database is here, but the agent, elastic job. No, it's not here yet. So we need to wait. So once we create the databases, as on the SQL side, we will need to create the credentials. And to do so, I'm going to create like the credential, the password, and use the new Azure SQL Elastic Job credential and create the same credentials for as I did in the SQL Server in T-SQL. So it will be, oh yeah, we are done. 3 minutes. Perfect. So that means we can have 15 minutes for the databases. So I'm going to kick off the databases now. And as there is no requirement for target, you can use the basic one. So it's only for the job database that it has to be S0. So I'm going to create the databases now. And while they are being created, I'll just tell you what we are going to do next. This will be the job credentials. So again, the refresh credential is the one on the master, the login and the user to be able to refresh the databases on the Azure SQL Server, so it knows what's on the target server. And the job credential is the one to be created, the login in master and the user in target database. It's responsible for executing the job. At least that's the recommendation from Microsoft, or that's how they documented that on the Microsoft Docs. But you can also use different credentials for different servers, different target groups, just to make sure you don't give too much power to single account. Then we create all the logins, and here I'm going to use the credentials here are being created with the Azure SQL commandlet, but the logins and the users will be created with the plain T-SQL. So it's kind of a cheating because I'm not using PowerShell, like pure PowerShell. I'm using this kind of stuff, like here. But because I'm using the DBA tools, invoke DBA query, I'm using PowerShell. So I'm using T-SQL, but via PowerShell. So still it's possible to do it within one script. So if I probably tailor that script and run it at once and go for a tea or a coffee, when I would be back after half an hour, it will be all created. So within like running one script, this is perfect. And it's much easier than clicking in portal, in my opinion. And it's possible to do it with the PowerShell completely. So once we create the logins, the users, and all the credentials, then we get the target databases. Again, I'm using the get DBA database command, which is DBA tools, to get the databases from the server, which is very, very useful. So you don't have to connect to, like, you don't have to guess or just keep the list of the database. You just connect to the SQL instances, and you can provide the list or array of the SQL Server instances to connect, which is great. And finally, I'm going to execute the query against all the target databases, which will basically these are the arguments. So I'm going to execute that command against the SQL instance, then database, and that would be my query: create the job credential and add DB owner. Just because I wanted to create more things on the target servers, but you probably want to consider what kind of permissions you want to create. So my databases are created now. It took 3 minutes, which is the estimate I had. And now I'm going to create the credentials. It should be quick, yes. And now I'm going to create the logins and users. And that will go here. I will show you this. So this might take a while just to populate the variable with all the tables I have, with all the databases I have on these two servers. And perfect. And now I'm just going to show you. I have all the databases on my servers. So my job server is LA Long Beach, and these are my targets: LA, and LA Pasadena. And this one has one database, and LA has 4 databases. And now I'm going to run the query to create the users and roles, which is done already. I don't have to run this manually. So in Management Studio, I would have to click to every server. And even though there are databases in Azure SQL Database, you cannot use, so it doesn't work. The use statement is not supported. So it would be complicated. It would require more clicking. Once the databases, the credentials are done, we can create the target groups. So the AZ SQL Elastic Job Target Group, and add the targets. So I'm going to add the target group, which again is the object I've just created. It will be empty now, but then I can use the pipeline to, instead of providing all the details here for all the parameters, I can just pipe that server group object into the Elastic Job Target. And I'm going to add the databases as well with the credential, refresh credential. And that I will repeat for, so that, what I did here was I added the whole server to one group, group 1. Now I'm going to add the selected databases. And again, this is the job agent object, so I don't have to provide all the details here. So I'm just piping that job agent object into the Elastic Target Group just to create it. And I'm adding the target databases. So it's different comparing to this one, as I'm adding the specific databases. I don't have to provide the refresh credential, as the target is my database. It's already a single database. On the refresh credential, on the server level, you need to provide the refresh credential so the target knows what databases are created on the server. That's done. And the last one would be, we can exclude databases from target groups. So I can add the new server group, then I will, in this construct, this will get all the databases, and I'm using AZ SQL Database. This will use all the data, this will get all the databases on server group 1, server 1, which is I'll show you this one, which is LA. It had multiple databases. So when I do this, it has all the databases. Database name is somewhere here. Well, it's multiple databases. I don't see the name now. Oh, here, DB13, DB13, oh, DB11. So it's multiple databases. And I'm going to add elastic jobs. So I'm going to add all of them to the target group. Oh, let's see if I can run this again. Yeah, it helps if you run all the commands you need. And I included all the databases, 11, 131, 132, 133. And I just want to exclude one database, which will be target DB11, which I assume is target DB11. So I will exclude the database from my server group. And, well, we don't see the, I would have to get the targets again, but yeah, it's excluded. And now we are going to create the job using the new Azure SQL Elastic Job command. And as in the previous example, it will run once. So almost in every case, there is a linked PowerShell command to the T-SQL procedure. And my T-SQL commands will create the tables. So for the step 1 will create table 1, and step 2 table 2, and so on. Just to show you how the target groups work. So I just defined the text, and now I'm going to add the job step, where I'm providing the step name, the target group name, and credential to execute the job. So it's not the refresh credential, it's job credential, and the text I just defined here. And for each of these steps, so I can assign each step to different target group, the different server group. So step of this will be one job with 3 steps, and each step will target different groups. I don't think it's possible with even master servers. And if we go quickly, I think if we go here to the Long Beach, I think we can connect here and just get the jobs. Job database, of course. We can see that our job has been created, and it has all the steps with the target groups. And now we can start the job. So I'm going to save the execution into the object just to use it later on. So I just started the job, and now I can get the job execution. And it will just run for a while. Once it's done, I think we can see here as well. It's been executed, like each step on different target. And once it's done, I think it's done. Oh, waiting for child job executions, so still waiting. But we should be able to see the tables now. So I'm just getting the get DB table command, which is DBA tools again, and query all the target servers, and looking for the tables, step 1, step 2, step 3. So we can see that some of the tables have been created already, but it's not finished. So let's wait a little bit for the was still running. I'm too quick. Is it still running? Waiting. So what we should get is that for the group one, the table one should be created on all databases, as we provided the both target servers. Table 2 should be created only on these two databases, and table 3 should be created on all databases but 11. I just need to wait. No, oh my, I just executed the job again. Wrong command. But it doesn't matter, because my job, when it runs against the database that has the table, it won't create the table again, so it won't fail. It will just complete. So that's also a suggestion from Microsoft. Just create the logic for your steps this way, so you can rerun the jobs without failure. If I just created the job with create table, it would succeed after first time, but then every time after that would fail. Succeeded, we've skipped. I think that's because I run it again. Let's see the tables. Oh yeah, that's better. So tables. Table number one. Table number one on all databases. There were 5 databases I've just created, so all of them on LA, and one on Pasadena. Table number 2 just on these 2 databases I selected, and table number 3 on all these databases from LA, just except DB11, which matches my plan. And that's how the target groups look like, how they work. And I'm just going to show you another example of collecting the data. I will still have some time. So I'm just going to create a new credential. You don't have to create it, but it's just to separate the users, the logins. So I'm just going to create the credentials, the login for a preparation that is done on the job server, job 0, server 0. Again, create the users on the target servers. Oh, it's done, sorry. And in the next step, I'm going to create a table using DBA tools as well. So that's my schema. That's how I define my table. And to be able to collect the data from other servers, except what you have in your table. So my table, that would be just 2 columns, server and when. That's what I have on different target servers. I need to include the column called internal execution ID. That's something that needs to be in that table on the central server, because that's the ID from the targets. So I'm going to create that table now. Yeah, my schema, which is $calls, is provided here in column maps, and the table is called central output. Now I'm going to create the job, again using the same agent, so I don't have to create the agent again. And my query, very advanced, would have the server name and the get date, just to show you that it works. And this will add the step 1, run against target group 1, which has all 4 databases. And the job step, that's the job step command. It has extra parameters for that work. It has the output schema name, which is collection in my case. It was here. Output table name, which is central output, which is here. And output credential name, which is, it was before. And we also have output database resource ID, which now I wonder if that should work. Well, we'll see. Because that's fixed and it should be dynamic. And now we can start the job. If the fixed value is incorrect, then the job will fail, and that will be unfortunate. Step 1 against job 2. Oh, right, because I'm running this against group 1, which is two servers, like both servers, so not only server 1. And that will just execute. And now I can query the central output table and see if my output is there. And it's there. So that is a query against the job database. It's a job database, not a master or anything. That's the database I just created at the beginning. The job database. It can the name can be whatever you want. It doesn't have to be job database like MSDB. It can be anything. And as you can see, it has the output from all the databases I just had in the target group 1, and it has the columns I defined in the query. Where was it? Oh, here, the server and when. And this extra column is from the table I've just created on the job database. And that's pretty much it. And if you want to clean this up, like all of this, you just run remove AZ resource group, and it will clean up the whole thing. You don't have to remember about removing the specific components of the job agent. And let's go back quickly to the presentation. So we've been talking about the Elastic jobs, that there are like a fancy SQL agent jobs or master target servers for Azure SQL Database. And we could see that in Azure portal, we could do the work halfway through. The rest had to be done either via PowerShell or T-SQL. So it could be done in portal, and because in T-SQL we won't be able to create Azure resources. So we have to do something in portal, and then you can carry on with the rest in T-SQL, or you can do all things in PowerShell, including some of the T-SQL jobs. If you have something to run the SQL queries against the database, it doesn't have to be DB tools. It's just very convenient to use them. And that's it about SQL agent jobs. And if you have any questions after the presentation, just send me an email or get in touch via Twitter or LinkedIn or anywhere else. And now I think we have a few minutes left for the questions. Do we have any questions?
Yes. First of all,
okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was excellent. My question is can you access other resources from the job? My idea is to use this as part of my DevOps pipeline. Have a multi-tenant database, so I've got multiple copies of one database. What I'm hoping I could then do is just say, okay, generate a different script, put it in the central location, and then create job steps that would go and run all the scripts that are within my release folder, if you will, and apply them to their databases. You know, basically go update yourself.
I'm not sure about if you can. Well, you probably cannot do this from the jobs itself because they just run T-SQL. So like the regular jobs, like in on-premises, you can run other things like command line or PowerShell, but in Elastic jobs can run only T-SQL. So I'm not sure if that will work. Probably not.
Okay. Well, would it be possible to set up like a job that would say PowerShell task and just say, okay, I'm going to do my release. The release, here's my artifacts, here's the body, if you will, of the script that needs to be run, and put that into the job, and off you go to the races.
I'm not an expert
like the
in
code splatting.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I didn't do much with the pipelines and DevOps on the Azure side, but I think there was a duo at the conference today who knows this inside out. It was Kevin, I think, and Zander. So yeah, I guess they could answer that question as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. That's a pleasure to be in LA again. This time virtually, but yeah. I see there is a question. Can we create monitoring reports and send by emails using Elastic Jobs? So probably depends what kind of monitoring reports are we talking about. So this one, the last example was kind of like a monitoring solution. I just run it once, but it can be scheduled. So you run it whatever you want, like every hour or so, and gather the details from different servers. I'm not sure about sending emails from inside Azure SQL Database. How that work? I never did this. I know when on SQL Agent on premises, you can call the DB mail and send email. I'm not sure about Azure SQL databases, but maybe you can call it use send group. Okay. Yeah, I never played with that, so would need to check. Do we have more questions? The only thing I can add to this presentation is that, as you can see with the PowerShell, it's just better organized and it might be quicker even without the DevOps solutions. If you share that script with someone else, they can repeat your tasks, where just using Portal, it might be prone to errors. And as you probably noticed, when I was creating some resources, like let's say agent, and I was creating the agent, or maybe it was job. Well, it was one of the resources I was creating, the database probably. So when I was creating the database, it was highlighting one of the resources I was using before. So if I didn't notice that, if I didn't spot that, I would create the database in a different resource group. So it's prone to errors. And with the PowerShell, you can control that better. And if you make the mistake once, then you can fix it in the script, and it's like it will be working every time. And that's, in my opinion, the better use. And in this case, as the Elastic jobs are in preview, they work pretty well with PowerShell. There are some other features in Azure that are in preview, but you cannot do you cannot do 100% of the job with PowerShell, and you have to do some stuff in Portal or like in signups in the Azure Signup Studio. But with the Elastic jobs, you can do it fully in PowerShell. So I don't see any more questions. So thank you very much for having me today. That was a real pleasure. And I see you're halfway through the conference. So I wish you a very good day and enjoy the rest of the conference, and hopefully to speak with you sometime in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mikey. Great presentation.